Well, so he always makes fun of me, and when we were hooking up my web camera, I I turned it black. Oh god, I wanted it facing to me so that you guys can only focus on me. But that's not why you're here. You're here for the awesome Leg of Legions content, right?
Okay, what's going on?
Oh god. So you guys love this Pretenders to be Contenders. This is his own series. I hate this series so much. It's trash, terrible, garbage. I have to do with this guy. I'm so mean. Alright, so we're talking about 100 Thieves. So season's over. Their top 3 didn't happen. They fumbled at every single point. So let's see what they can improve on. Let's start with actual gameplay, which is one of the more underrated things that they didn't actually improve on at all.
What team are we talking about?
100 Thieves.
We've done 100 Thieves like 4 times.
Did we do it?
We did so many 100 Thieves videos.
Just kidding. This is about Misfits.
Thank you so much.
I had him going for like a hot minute. It's about Misfits, actually. Basically the NA 100 Thieves that were all hyped up and then they just started sucking.
Hold up. I think we did 100 Thieves. Did we not do Misfits too?
We didn't do Misfits.
I'm pretty sure
we only did CLG and Clutch. I think. We only did CLG and Clutch.
Clutch.
And SLG, right?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always right.
You're
That's
right.
how. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but hey, I'm always right.
I remember talking about them. I guess we never really did a video.
Oh yeah, you said it wasn't good enough and you deleted it. Hate you so much.
Okay.
But yeah, let's talk about Misfits. So Misfits were coming in pretty much like 100 Thieves. They had a lot of hype coming in. Star players. Well, 100 Thieves had like 2 star players. Misfits had like 5 in their roles. So where did Misfits fail? Let's start with actual gameplay, which I think a lot of people don't really credit that a lot. Their gameplay, let's talk about macro. They focused on the Hansama bot lane, which they were just trying to only play through that. I feel like at a certain point, they got very predictable in which how they played through bot lane. And you felt like if you banned out certain Misfits champions for Hansama, like Lucian, Draven, and sometimes the Kalista, I feel like he just didn't sufficiently have the same early game impact like he used to. You factor in with Gorilla, he should have been just as good, but then you look at and towards what Gorilla coming into the team may not have been the best idea. But if you're looking at actual gameplay from them, they try to do the whole 4-1 split push, slow ass on a split push or a tank. Most likely, the same stuff he's always played. Maxlore facilitating his ganks more throughout the bot lane. Maxlore really never ganked for Febiven all that much, and when he did, he failed it a lot. And I don't think their drafts were very, very intelligent. I don't feel like they really ever improved in their drafting. Their drafting has always been one of their biggest suits to the reason why I think they never really can improve as a team, because they're so predictable that if you ban out a few ADC champions and 1 or 2 junglers, and now with 5 bans it's even better, because now you can attack the whole team's champion pools. So if there's a super meta OP pick in the meta, you tackle that, ban it, and then they basically just fall apart. So I think for Misfits, in order to actually improve, you need to start playing through a different lane, or at very worst, stop being so predictable in your drafting phase.
The problem with Misfits isn't I play through a different lane or anything. It's the fact that they built a team around a bunch of superstars, and none of them came to the point where they were actually superstars. Febiven was not good enough to be that solo carry mid laner that we want him to be. Soaz, you didn't expect him. You wanted to just be stable, which he did play pretty well in the beginning of the season, but he just wasn't good enough. I think it didn't come down to anything. Predictability wasn't the problem. They could have done it if the players were playing well enough. I think that they could have played straight through bot lane if not for the fact that Maxlore became a complete liability. If Febiven just was never... he just became one of the worst middle laners in the league by the end of the split. We talk about what's his name that came in towards the middle half. Mystique's was support. Special was pretty decent. I think he was better than Febiven by the end.
I think Nemesis was way better.
Nemesis was better than Humanoid. We had obviously Caps.
Abadage.
We had Caps. We had Nuktuk. We had Yuxei. So that puts him in the bottom 4 of the league.
Maybe bottom 2 if you compare it to Abadage.
Abadage was worse than him.
Yeah, definitely. Abadage is definitely 10th place.
For the most part, I think that there's no reason that somebody who you expected to be a superstar should be this probably 7th place mid laner in the league. He was pretty decent at points, but for the most part, he was better
than Senkux.
Oh, awesome. Good stuff. So I think that if you want this team to succeed, you either need him to play at a better pace or you need him to be replaced because he's not. You don't have a secondary superstar to play through. Another point is that I think that the coaching staff should get fired because they like. I don't know if you blame who you blame for the jungle pathing on Maxlor's part, but it was always the same. It was always predictable. I think that
he goes between red buff to Krugs.
It's not about that mostly.
To game bot.
What I'm saying
it never changed.
What I'm saying is, again, I think that I would like him to be, I mean, maybe a little bit more aggressive because it just seems like when you're devoting most of your resources towards the same lane, it just becomes a little too hard for the rest of them to survive because they already know essentially how you're going to play the game. I think I'd like to see him go through mid lane a little bit more. Viven's not a terrible player. I think he's a little bit better than he was this split. So I'd like to see some more play through the top side of the map instead of the bottom side every single time. Hansam was pretty decent for the most part, but he wasn't incredible. I think he was still one of the best. I mean, again, the bot lane was probably the best part of this team. I think if you want this team to succeed, you need to focus more of your resources towards the top side, which obviously, I don't think it's really a surprise. Everybody knows that if you've actually watched their games, that's the problem with them.
I think another problem with them has to be functioning Soaz on a more of a carry role. I don't feel like Soaz is a lot more proficient on the carry role. He was very underrated when it was like tank play and team fighting. He was like kind of like a worst version of Impact to a certain extent, or he could be a carry version of Impact. So I feel like putting Soaz in that position is not so good. I think that when you look at it in terms of coaching staff, you had Jesus. He was supposed to be the coach, and then you had Husani come back midway through the split because of how the roster is going. They started very, very good. They started like 4-2. Then they had a few bad games, and then they were the team to drop a game to Rogue. Remember, they dropped a game to Rogue, and then after that point, you're like, I don't think this team is gonna come back from anything. I still think their last game against G2 didn't look convincing either. Like G2 also threw that game, and it's like, if your last game you're playing, the last few games you're playing of the split aren't even convincing, it's not even good. Like they almost lost to Excel. Like
Excel looked really good by the end of the split, to be fair.
Yeah, like so if you go by lane, Gorilla probably was the biggest fail of EU in terms of hype coming in of like a brand new roster. I feel like Gorilla largely failed on a lot. Like he just was not the same player at all. There was no playmaking. There was no smart decision. No smart ward pathing. There was play through Hansama, which is, I mean, Hansama's great and all, but at a certain point, I feel like Hansama has already peaked enough, and I feel like you already kind of get what you're gonna get out of him. That's what I kind of feel like. Like he's a great team fighter. He's like a tiny bit better than Sneaky, so I feel like that is only playable through so much. Like you can only play through a player like Sneaky, Bang, and Hansama so much, and I feel like Gorilla as a player needs more of an aggressive ADC that'll take the lead in the game, like Prey did when they were playing together. So those are my opinions on the bot lane. Do you have any opinions on them?
I mean, it's obvious what the problem with the bot lane is. Communication issues. I think that Gorilla doesn't function as a strong laner, though he is a strong laner. Mostly comes around his ability to make plays happen around the map. Grouping as a team fight and being the initiator is not possible when you're not able to communicate. So I think if you want to be able to survive on this team, or at least at the very least be able to transfer regions, you need to get out of this, like, at the very least learn English, because he needs to be the shot caller. There's not a really strong guiding hand on this team, and I think that it can't possibly be Soaz, who I think is actually the shot caller right now. I'd like to see somebody else be played through. So all around, I think that I do not think the roster is the problem. The roster is not the biggest problem.
I think maybe switching out a part of it would help.
Well, maybe, but again, who do they switch him out for?
I switch out Maxlor.
For who? If you don't have a solution to that,
or something.
No. If you don't have a solution to that, you can't.
I gave you a solution.
And not a good one though.
Oh gosh.
I'm saying that if you want this team to
buy Cadril.
No, you can't steal him from a team that's doing in the league, man.
Oh dang it!
That's not a solution. That's not possible. It could happen, but
you could grab one of those EU Master junglers.
Do you think they're better?
It depends.
Well, again, if you don't have it, no solid solutions means that I think that if they could find a jungler, solid, but I don't think they're going to. So I think that all around you might want to stick with this roster and try and make a bigger solution as to have the bigger solution should be finding a way to get Gorilla to learn how to speak English a little better.
And getting an early game plan?
Well, no. Just switch the primary shot calling role to him because, again, even playing around the ADC is not bad. I think the big problem was he needs to tell the jungler where to gank because he can't constantly gank bot. You can't constantly devote most of your ability, like your presence around the bot lane because it's really predictable after a while. I think that if we want to see this team succeed, I would like to see probably again shot call reversal because even if they had the lead towards the later half, I don't think they did very well because they didn't know how to close out the games. They were more so have them force into us force them into a team fight, and that's all we do. That's not strong enough. That's not a good enough way to play the game.
Also, they lost a lot of objectives around objective control. Their objective control is really bad. Like the Baron they did, and like, oh my god, their objective control is actually terrible. And we see like if Max Lord starts getting outclassed, he just is he can't come back from behind. You know, those things happen too. I feel like their players just can't come back from behind if they get destroyed. Like if Soaz and Max Lord lose, then the whole team loses essentially. And then if there's someone that can match Febiven, if you're matched in mid, then it makes it a lot worse too. So, yeah, all in all, man, I don't even know where they go from here because they got to improve on something. If you don't want roster changes, then what are you really going to improve on? You would have to improve on early game plans and shot calling. That's the best thing.
I don't think they need to transition to an early game team. I don't think that's necessary. I just think they need a way to play through something other than bot lane. And the problem is, I would be fine with them picking up players if they knew if I knew more about what players they should pick up. There's Magic Felix, the guy from, there's that guy. There's the guy from what's it called? The guy from Misfits Gaming. Was it Misfits?
Misfits, their own academy team.
Was it not Misfits?
Yopa?
The team. What's the team that won? They came from behind. They made a really big run at the end. They beat SK Prime.
Oh, Mad Lions, right?
No.
I can't. Fnatic lost.
Fnatic was the one that lost to SK.
Yeah, Fnatic Rising lost.
The finals was
Misfits.
SK versus, was it Misfits? Regardless, I was watching the game and it was actually that mid laner doesn't look pretty. Either one of those, I think the top three teams in the EU scene would be pretty decent to pick up because they all have solid mid laners.
Yeah.
The jungler is the big problem. I think that is going to be the biggest problem for this team. Because
if they could somehow make a switch, like you know how like Smithy did for Dark back in the day, like maybe switch Selfmade for Maxlore.
Yeah, because they would love that. That's stupid. Why would SK? Why would
if you offer enough money?
Can't give him money because he can't leave. He's under contract.
I mean, that can always be traded.
They can't be traded. You have to go to the team, and the team's not going to care about the money. They want the player.
Yeah.
The likelihood of them wanting to just give up Selfmade for Maxlore is idiotic.
They actually did. That'd be so hilarious.
I'm just saying. All around, I think that SK. I mean, Misfits' best choice is if they can't make roster choices to figure out a way to.
You said figure out coaching.
The coaching, obviously is a problem. I know that's a problem because they don't have any form of shot call. I mean, they don't have any form of game plan. They go in there with the same comps every single time, try to play their bot lane, and that's anybody. Like I keep saying,
Schalke do that, and we see how that worked out for Schalke.
Schalke didn't always do that. They had solid laners at the beginning half of the season.
Yeah.
But all around, like if you want to see this team succeed, you're gonna have to get it better. Like the jungle needs to improve. The mid laner needs to be a secondary carry because it can't be put solely on the back of Hansama because. Even if we talk about them improving and stop playing through bot, it can't happen unless Febiven starts playing better. If Febiven does not start playing better, you have to keep playing through bot because that's your only way to win.
And that's pretty much it. You got any other thoughts?
No.
Lovable person I do videos with?
No.
He's playing Clash of Clans.
It's not Clash of Clans.
I'm playing a pool game on my phone right now.
You're not.
You can't just see my hands move.
See you later.
And,
what?
hashtag Misfits win, something like that.
Shut up.